Welcome. I'm going to talk to you about Sprixel as well as the Teaching and Learning Excellence Center. And as I was going through the binder, I saw that Dr. Humphreys was going to hit on Bloom's taxonomy. And so I'm going to touch on that a little bit. And I know you're going to have a full section on critical thinking. So I'm going to integrate some of that into what I'm going to share with you today. So, are we up? Oh, great. Okay, to begin with, what Sprixel is a web-based platform for students to discuss books. And they do it in a way that encourages collaborative thinking, collaborative discussion, and it builds on critical thinking skills, the higher end of Bloom's taxonomy. So it was very convenient that he had this handout in there. And in your binder, you'll see where it says how to create an account on Sprixel.com. So if you go there, I'm going to walk you through this, and I'm going to talk to you about what it does and how to integrate it and use it to build literacy within the classroom. And then the page before that is Dr. Humphrey's section where he talks about Bloom's, and I'm going to show you a piece of that as well. So to begin with, how to create an account. And as we create, I'm going to tell you all of the features and what it does and how you can use it. You go to Sprixel.com. It's very, very, very user-friendly. You'll see a button that says sign up in blue, and it's also down below as well. You just click sign up. You're going to locate your school, which is Texas Southern University. It'll be on page 2. So she'll scroll down to page 2. Click on Texas Southern University. I'm sorry. This is Disa Dow. She's a graduate assistant with TLAC, and she's been my right hand and my left hand. And she's also in the counseling department, so we're hoping she's going to graduate and get into the public school system as a school counselor and work on closing not just achievement gaps, but potential gaps for our students. So, and she's been an awesome, awesome support for TLAC. Okay. And then once you find your school, it asks, who are you? And you'll just click teacher. And then from there, it's just asking for basic demographic, first name, last name, what username you would like, your email address, phone number, password. Your password has to be 6 characters. Everything is and it'll say all of this on here. Everything is case sensitive, so if you use a capital, you'll have to use a capital. If you use all lowercase, you'll have to keep that in mind as you're using it. So she's setting up a dummy teacher account. Just to give you an idea, it's really, really, really easy. This is the easy part. Now, she's putting in our office number. There's capabilities where you can get text message alerts, and if you choose that, you want to put in a cell number. Otherwise, if you don't want that, you just use any number. And then she clicks sign up. And that's it. Then you're in. Then from there, you can create a profile. So it kind of uses the culture of social media that students are used to, like the Facebook, the Twitter. So you have your own profile. Adult learners are able to upload their picture. And so what I want you to do, Disa, is just log out. And I've already created an account. So there's levels of security, which means you can't get on unless you're recognized. So once you create an account, the account rep, which was me, I have to approve you. All right. Once I approve you, then you can manage and create a classroom. Your students cannot have access until you approve them. All right. So once they create an account, then it'll message you to let you know you have students that are pending. And go to username. I created a dummy teacher account. Type in POOH. And password, type in THER, the number 0, CK, and log in. I think that's the password I used. Oh, good. Okay, we're in. So there's 2 options. First of all, go to where it says feeds. You're going to see like a lot of activity on the feeds. It shows all kids as they're discussing. And you'll see it says higher education or PK-12. So some public schools are also using this site. So if you don't want to see their feed, you just click higher education, and it'll all be university or college students. And so once she clicks that, then you'll be able to see just college feeds. So what students do, if you go back up where you see my name, Disa, you see where it says, hi, Kimberly. If you click on that drop-down menu,
it just uploaded the higher ed.
Oh, it did? Okay. Okay, so what you see now, these were my students in the summer. We had a book discussion on 21st century learners. So they were going back and forth discussing, and we'll show what that looks like. Okay, you see where it says My Classrooms? This is how you create and count a class. You go to your name, you click My Class, and then it'll say Add a Classroom. So you click Add a Classroom, and then it'll ask you to put in the subject. So ideally, and all of this is on the instructions as well, ideally it's best if you put your last name. So put McLeod and put COUN 633, and then type just say counseling research. So that way, if students are looking for your class, it's easy to find your name and which section that they're enrolled in. And level is graduate. Put the first day of class, you submit, and then create. And that's it. You see now I have the class created. Now students, once they sign up, when they go to Who Are You, they click Student, they can search for their class. And it'll send you, once they try to enroll, on their screen it'll show you have a pending request, a student who wants to enroll in the class. Okay, so what do? How do we use this, and what's the point of the benefit of using Sprixel? If you look, and I'm just going to tie in a little bit of what Dr. Humphreys, on his chart on Bloom's taxonomy, it's the page right before the Sprixel. He has a picture of the old blooms, and he has a picture of the new blooms. And although they're different, the similarities are that at the foundation, it's a basic level of understanding, thinking, and the higher up you go, it's more critical, more higher level thinking skills. And on the new blooms, it talks about remembering and understanding. Well, that's basic cognition. They're reading the book. Do they understand what they're doing? Do they understand what they're reading? Are they comprehending it? To understand is one thing. To apply what it is that you're learning is a total different thing. And so that takes the next level of thinking, which is application. And then on the old blooms, they talk about analysis, synthesis, evaluation. On the new blooms, they talk about analyzing, evaluating, and creating. So Sprixel only focuses on the higher level thinking skills. That's it. There is no remembering, understanding. We're talking about when we read this book, when we read this material, what does it mean? And there's opportunities for them to check in books, to discuss books. And it takes them through what we call like a scaffolding process of learning, where they come in and just kind of check in, just basically talk about a book. Then the next level, once they check in a book, Disa, why don't you log out and log into your student account? After they check in a book, then they can actually discuss elements in the book. How is the pace, the characterization? Is it making sense? What I like, what I didn't like? How this applies to what we're learning, how we're speaking, how we're integrating or engaging in our environment. They're actually discussing. It's intentional. You just check in, then you discuss. The highest level of thinking is when they actually write a critique or a critical review of what it is that they've read. It's the highest level of thinking, which is they're now, I'm used to the old blooms, but the new blooms where, I comprehend, I understand, I begin to apply. So the discussion, they're just kind of playing around with it. But then when they're actually analyzing what they're reading, evaluating, challenging each other's thoughts and discussions, so they can look at what another student has read, and they can constructively give them feedback. Whether, I hear what you're saying, but you've got it all wrong. Shakespeare was really trying to say this. I'm not sure what you all cover in your different disciplines. And I think you have the meaning. I think you missed the tone, the symbolism. They can challenge. So now they're actually defending and getting into a scholarly debate online. And that's what some of my students began doing. And I told them specifically, I said, I don't want cheerleader responses. Don't say good job. I agree. I want you to be able to, we need you to be able to think and challenge each other's thinking. And I want to see evidence of that. This is what I told my students. And then don't just say something from the bottom of your heart. Cite your source. Back it up by some research. And so they began in their discussions and I told them, challenge, and I want to see evidence of that you know what you're talking about. And so they began to do that. And are you in your student account? You can see where this student was just checking in, and she says, I'm on 80, what? You can't really see it that well. 83%. It shows, like, if the book has 400 pages, it shows I'm on page 56. It shows there. So some of the things that we did when we have group book reads, I would strategically say, as a group, class, you can keep scrolling down, we're going to read page 1 through 15. All right? So we're all discussing at the same time, the same topic at the same pace. Does that make sense to you guys? Nothing on this side is lower level thinking. And one of the things, although we're using this for all QEP, for English and speech communications, when you begin to massage that area of the brain where higher level thinking occurs, it carries over into other areas. There'll be better math students, better science students, because you're building a better, more robust, higher capability of functioning brain, so to speak. And, I would love to challenge math teachers. Have them talk about in an essay format how you solve this problem. And look, that there's more than one way to solve problems. How you talk about science. The textbooks are on here. Social studies, history. I think it goes into multiple disciplines, but the goal is to build a stronger brain. It makes no sense to have comprehension if you don't know how to deliver it and apply it to real life. And that's the goal, is to help them think beyond just the textbook. And so what happened is our students began to use it. We've done fiction, we've done nonfiction, we've done textbook assignments. What begins to happen is the more we challenge the brain to think, they began to tie this into, we did, I think, the 72-hour hold, we did Invisible Man, we've done, and they would tie what we were learning into real life. I know someone who has this, and it ties into this theory that we were learning. They began to make connections, and what they're, in brain research, what's happening is the brain is, I'm going too much into detail. Yeah, but the brain, the dendrites are growing. They'll be able to make connections in a more of a stronger net, like a superhighway system is building in the brain. So that's the goal. I'm going to be honest with you. My students will not use it unless I put it in the syllabus. I had to say, you're going to make 3 comments on Sprixel a week. They're only going to do what is in that syllabus. And then I challenge them, and if you do what's on the syllabus, that's what everybody else is doing, you're going to get a C. If you want an A, and A stands for exceeding expectations, blow me away. But if you're going to do what everybody else is doing, so I would challenge them to go beyond just the expectation that's on the syllabus. Yes?
I was going to ask you a question. I've had things where we do discussions, but I'll have students who sit and wait to hear what everybody else has said, and, between spark notes and listening to everybody else and all of that, they don't actually engage in the literacy itself.
And that's why you make it part of the grade. You say there's 3 posts required per week. My students, I make them do 5. And because I've looked at some other online schools that use 21st century tools. For their undergraduates, they're doing 5 a week on 3 different days of the week. And when I was doing 2, and I'm like, I'm not challenging my students enough. They didn't like that. But they rose up to the occasion. Do you want to talk about what your experience was really quick? Because she did it in 2 classes, didn't you?
I had this summer session, summer 2, and we did the 21st century skills. It was really good because it prompted me to read the book, because I had to make my comments and I had to, comment on other people. The book was about this thing. So one of the things that she did for us, because it was such a short session, she chose, we had to choose chapters that was relevant to our reports that we were creating. And So once you start reading those, I mean, it was so interesting, but looking at the book, you didn't want to read it. But reading those little few chapters made you want to read the whole book. And then watching everyone's response, and you're creating posts, and then one of the things that I did on mine, I would ask them, so what do you think? Challenging them to answer me now, and that's what she was looking for. So.
And they can do a lot of simple things, like there's a notification center, let them know someone has commented on your idea. There's a button where they can like an idea, which you'll see, yeah, that's okay. But I said, when I went to the critical thinking conference, I talked with the development team, and I said, so now what you'll see is there'll be a challenge button. So it's like a like and a challenge. I like it, but now I want to challenge your thinking. So now you can constructively challenge someone else's thought, and it comes up, someone is challenging your post or your discussion or your critique. There's a spell check, there's a grammar check that supports building, now it doesn't catch everything, but it'll catch quite a few things. If they're saying, I like this FOUR good reason, and say, are you sure you mean FOUR? It could be a confusion of homophones, and it'll list different types of homophones. And it kind of gives them corrective feedback. Now, at the critique, which is the highest level, all right, and I have to work my students, I want them to discuss, and with the intent, now all of this discussion ought to contribute to your critique, your critical review. And on the critique, it takes them through the writing process. So the first version is the brainstorm. Then it takes them through the rough draft. What's published is the final copy. So it grows them. It's with intent. It's a scaffolding process until just a little, now this, now here's your finished product. The other thing students can do, does anybody watch sports or has ever trained? And in track, you do the warm-up, which is this check-in, and then you actually are practicing, which is the discussion. And then when it's time to compete, you're putting forth the final. Well, afterwards, when you're training, usually they have a cool-down lap. And so the cool-down is an opportunity for them to rate and review. Now, you can assign a 4-star rating, write a review over what you read for other people who may be considering reading the book. So we just don't stop them when we get there. We kind of cool them down and transition them into, make a transition for the next reader. Does that make sense to you? So they have an opportunity to rate and review the book as well. But am I out of time? How much time do I have left? 3 minutes, okay. So I'm going to take all 3 minutes. But what I want to say in closing is that and I hope that you choose to integrate it, what I would like to do quantitatively as well as qualitatively, try and measure the success our students experience when we, I guess, robustly and rigorously apply the brain to higher levels of thinking and see what that result is. And then I want to write about it. My students from the summer, they wrote 4, was it 4? We had 4 reports, 5 that we sent to peer-reviewed journals. So they applied all of this, and then they had to submit, and it was raw data that we had from the first semester of TLAC. So now that's going to be published, and TLAC will begin to have a national reputation, but our students took part in that, trying to grow them to become, don't just be a student, be a world changer, an opinion shifter. And so we're kind of developing them to do that, whether they like it or not. And lastly, in the back of your binder, you'll have a save the date card, and we're going to pass all of these out. They'll be in all of the faculty boxes. Of course, my other hat is providing professional development for the university. And it has the workshop agendas. There's one that we left off, but it'll be on the website in the program. We'll have syllabus and assessment and some aspect of academic advising each session that we present. And then we'll have breakout sessions. And you can see this time what we're doing is you can rotate, so you can attend more than one. Last time it was just one and you had to choose. So now you can attend more than one if you like. On the back, you'll have all the future dates and themes of the ones that this is all we're doing for the year. There'll be 6. And it was based upon attendance and our feedback form. So this will give you all of our upcoming events, and DISA has also passed out to you our TLAC program book that introduces the staff, our advisory board, more detail into our workshop sessions. And on the very last page, you'll find something called FAME and FATE. FAME stands for Faculty as Mentors of Excellence and Faculty as Teachers of Excellence. We are recruiting and we'll be paying a $1,000 stipend to 10 faculty members to be trained as critical friends coaches, which is really a national, well-renowned model. They use it a whole lot in K-12. Higher ed, we're just getting our feet wet with it, but I'd like to really use TSU as a national landmark of for critical friends groups. And basically what it is, it's a peer group that supports enhancing teaching instructional practices in the classroom. And it's not it's not an authoritarian process. It's a collaborative process. So we hope to have 10 with a minimum of 10 members in each group, which will be about 100 and 150 faculty members. So you'll see that, the FAME and the FATE in the back, and on the very front cover, as well as on the handout, the save the date, if for whatever reason you would like to contact myself, DISA will be back with us next year. Our program coordinator, who's not here, Ms. Butte Phillips, our contact information is there. I'm Kimberly McLeod. Thank you for your time and have a wonderful workshop training session. Hopefully we'll see you at 4. Thank you.